resource statement, a 1.2 million ounces of 1.2 grams, which included a starter pit of about 380,000 ounces at a grade of 2.6, gave us enough material to start thinking of a standalone project to push this forward. And we did exactly that. We have done an internal scoping study, and the numbers are quite convincing.
Hello, thank you for joining the Assay TV, where today we are joined once again by Nana Sangmuah, who is the President and CEO of Roscan Gold. Roscan is a Canadian gold exploration company focused on the exploration and acquisition of gold properties in West Africa. The company has assembled a significant land position of 100% owned permits in an area of producing gold mines and major gold deposits located both north and south of its Kandiole project in West Mali. Okay, so welcome, Nana. It's been a little while since we last spoke. I believe 121's mining investment event in Cape Town was the last time we caught up, so great to see you again.
It's a pleasure to have me back on your show again.
Okay, so let's jump right in with your recent news release regarding quite an interesting new discovery made near your Mankouke South deposit. Can you tell us a bit more about that?
Yeah, it's actually a very interesting discovery for us. We acquired a piece of ground after we completed our geophysics, and it showed some very significant north-south trending structures, and the anomalies were quite convincing. So we aggressively sought to pick that up. And since then, we've actually been focusing in other parts, but we got the results of multi-element sampling, and some anomalies were delineated. This one spanned about 2 kilometers in length and 500 meters in width. And we started punching some holes in. And it actually coincided with some arsenic anomalies as well. And they're actually a bigger signature further north of this area. But the results were quite impressive. We've chased the system for over 450 meters already to a depth about 125 meters. And it's still open, and the grades have been quite compelling, 3.3 grams over 30 meters, and these are close to surface, and definitely other type of grades that would actually make an impact in an operating scenario.
Excellent, and this is contributing to an already quite significant land package that Roscan has. Can you just go into a bit more detail for our viewers regarding what that land package entails?
Well, we have a total of 400 square kilometers, and our current resource have been delineated amongst probably 3 or 4 main key deposit areas. Beyond that, we have actually about 4 advanced targets, which includes this discovery that we made, and 16 other priority targets. And all these have been picked up by a combination of geophysics, geochem, some artisanal outcrops that were collated. And definitely we can't wait to go drill those up as well. So it's been a significant package, and there's lots to turn, lots of stones to turn.
So you just mentioned the geophysics, etc., and Mankouke has not actually been that explored at great depth yet. But what have you actually learned in the early stages so far?
Well, I mean, basically, if we layer up the analogs in the region, we have drilled to a maximum depth of about 300 meters at Mankouke South. Even at Kabay, our second largest resource area, the depth spans close to just about a little over 100 meters. But if you look at analog deposits, which are within the same structural setting, these guys are picking up more ounces as deep as 450 meters for Fekola, 600 meters for Sadiola, and in Lulu, it's gone down to 1 kilometer. So the potential at depth really is stellar. And our geophysics have actually confirmed that potential based on the analysis and the results and interpretation of the data. And our structural geologists also, with the measurements that were taken, point to the fact that these structures extend. So we definitely have to get some deep holes in there to chase it and add some significant ounces.
Excellent. In terms of major upcoming milestones, I know the company's been working to de-risk the project. Where are we currently with that?
Well, I think our resource statement, 1.2 million ounces of 1.2 grams, which included a starter pit of about 380,000 ounces at a grade of 2.6, gave us enough material to start thinking of a standalone project to push this forward. And we did exactly that. We have done an internal scoping study, and the numbers are quite convincing, and that's the basis for which we are applying for the mining permits. There had been a bit of a stalemate when the government had to rework the mining code. And we're very optimistic that once this has been complete, we should get onto the drawing board, and it should be a matter of weeks for the new permits to be issued. But the significance of that is it transforms us from an exploration story to a development story, very well de-risked, and actually brings more parties to engage to move this to the next level.
Absolutely. And you've just mentioned Mali adopting a new mining code. It's quite interesting, as you know, it allows the state to take around 30 to 35% in new mineral projects. How is this affecting Roscan?
Well, my understanding of the code right now is basically the free carried interest doesn't change. The increased interest is going to be participatory, and there's going to be a formula that's going to be used to work that out. If the formula is fair, I think it's not a bad thing to have the government as a partner to advance your project in this environment. And I know that there's been a push to get some tax concessions taken, and that's not only a Mali thing, it's actually an African thing where a lot of the African countries are being pushed to effectively manage their resources. So I think the concept is if you are revenue generating, there's less tax breaks for you. But if you are not, then the tax breaks will still exist. So as an exploration company, we still would have our VAT exonerations and exemptions in place.
Excellent. Thank you for going into that. And just to summarize for our investors and viewers, what makes Roscan an attractive company for our investors, and why is it unique?
Well, I think I always state that you have quite a pool of junior resource stories out there, and essentially you have about 10% of these stories ever making it its way to become mines and attracting the re-rating that the investors want. Answering the question as to whether these prospects will become mines is always the challenging part. I think Roscan has answered that question. We know we have a mine here. The question is, how big is it going to be? Who's going to be building it? Whether we building it or people will come in and take it over. And all these steps actually is going to add more value to investors. So at this stage, at this valuation, I can think of a better opportunity out there.
Excellent. Well, thank you so much for taking the time to catch up with us again, and can't wait to see more news flow from Roscan.
It's my pleasure. Thanks for having me.